Well, goodbye Season 5 and rest in the deepest pits of hell together with any resemblance of memory from the dive meta. Good riddance. Alright, it's time to switch off my quick play shorts in favor of my ranked tryhard pants once again and hope that Season 6 is going to be a little more pleasant than the previous one. What's particularly interesting about Season 6 is that we are seeing a lot of very, let's call them interesting changes. The devs are currently tinkering a lot with our beloved heroes, which makes predictions as to what is going to become meta rather difficult. Especially because we can't tell for sure what's going to be dying on the PTR and what is actually going to make it to the live servers. And some people didn't take too kindly of the lack of guidance I provided in a recent video of mine where I said that people should just be playing whatever they want because Season 6 seems to be offering a bit more variety in regards to meta play than the previous one. Again, at this point in time, nobody knows what is going to be meta, so pretty much every video you see on YouTube right now regarding this subject is going to be based on assumptions, and this one is no different. I decided to pick out 5 heroes that, given the currently available information, I think are going to be safe bets to successfully survive your Season 6 plays matches, as also your entry experience into this competitive season. And to get you started, if you have only limited experience with these characters, I will also throw in a few tips for each hero. But that is enough introduction. Now without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 1, let's get the cheesy stuff out of the way first. Your strongest pick. Before I get into boldly suggesting heroes without even knowing what you guys are good at, I would like to once again advise you to just play whatever hero you perform the best on. In a meta where we simply can't tell what is going to happen and what's going to be popular, it's best to stick to what you know. Adapting to challenges becomes easier. You don't have to force yourself to learn new heroes from scratch at the start of the season and so on. So whatever else I recommend after this, number 1 will always be what I would advise you guys to do regardless. Number 2, Zarya. Since Zarya has just gotten her buff treatment at the end of last season, she's far less likely to be tweaked with again, and between popular picks like Genji as also the latest addition to the roster Doomfist, it's always good to have the Russian lady on your team. Graviton Surge has just gotten that much more useful given that these pesky, bouncy characters with their annoying levels of mobility can't just escape it anymore. If you do decide to pick Zarya up for this round of plays and matches, as also the upcoming new season, a few basic tips to get you started. Rule of thumb is that you should use your own shield for the sake of getting and maintaining high charge, while keeping the ally shield for cases where you can save someone's life or allow them to safely dive the enemies. But again, it's just a rule of thumb. If you can coordinate with your team to keep you at high charge, then please do that rather than waiting for them to walk into a near-death experience. Also note that tracking is a skill set Zarya highly benefits off. If you have trouble tracking consistently, try to play with your DPI and sensitivity. Lower levels are usually advised for consistent tracking. And lastly, don't forget that only because they can't get out of your grav anymore doesn't mean they can't counteract it. So pay attention to deflect, defense matrix, and things like Reinhardt Shadow or Mei Walls. With those tips in your backpack, I am sure you will make a great Zarya this season. Number 3, Tracer. Tracer is arguably one of the most balanced heroes currently in the game. A testament to that is the fact that she has never really been tweaked. No major buffs or nerfs, hell, not even tiny balance fixes of any sort come to mind. Tracer is a prime example of a hero that scales really well with increasing levels of proficiency. That means that every last bit of kit that you improve at directly translates into your effectiveness as Tracer. A combination of tracking, positioning, and an opportunistic playstyle that allows you to dive in for the kill when the time is right without constantly dying after a single kill or two is certainly advised. Something that really helps in getting better as Tracer is picking your fights carefully. Learn which matchups are generally in your favor, which abilities you should try to bait or play around, and when you should best not take any risks. For that, I would advise to ask someone who has more experience playing Tracer competitively than me. Basic starter tips really just include tracking, which is very similar to Zarya, cooldown management with your blink so you don't just rush in carelessly without a plan to get back out again, and being very aware of your surroundings. The more info you have as Tracer, the better. Seize the opportunity if an opponent is out of position, consider respawn timers, and don't take head-on matchups that you should not be taking. While Tracer is a bit more of a difficult hero to get the hang of, in her nature of being very skill-based, she's always as effective as your skill allows her to be, which is why I deem her to be a very universally decent choice against most comps. Number 4, Lucio. Now listen, I could not make a video suggesting 5 heroes for the new season without including at least one support character, since well, you know, a support main. Problem being that Zenyatta is currently really getting the short end of every implementation or balance change, with ever increasing amounts of things making their way into the game that essentially one-shot him. And that will be fine if it was in response to poor positioning, but quite frankly, there are currently so many things in this game that make playing Zenyatta a really miserable experience if you're not already really good on him, that I just can't wholeheartedly recommend it. When it comes to Mercy, God knows what's gonna happen to her. Some of the changes that are currently on the PTR look great, others look completely broken, and I have no idea what's gonna happen to her in the new season. Sure, I could throw in Anna for good measure, but I feel like Lucio is just more universally applicable. Listen, if you're picking up Lucio for the first time in competitive, take it slow. Don't make it your job to just wall ride 24/7. Warm yourself up to it and learn the mechanics while slowly figuring out which routes are beneficial and so on. In the beginning, just focus on amping heals when necessary, speed boost into engagements or to disengage your team, and keep an eye out for your squishies. Whenever your Mercy, Anna, McCree, or anyone else who can't take a lot of damage gets pressured by a flanker like Tracer or Genji, make it your job to give those flankers a really hard time doing damage. Throw yourself between your teammate and the enemy, boop them away with your right click, and try to just land enough shots to force them to disengage. Don't try to do any backline flanks yourself until you mastered his mobility, which, trust me, that's gonna take some time. So, long story short, don't play Lucio in a flashy way if you have no experience on him. Just focus on healing, speed boosting, and peeling. Everything else is something that experience and practice will teach you. And lastly, number 5, Sombra. Now I put that one last on the list with very deliberate intent, a character that many players still perceive to be a throw hero of sort. However, one thing that makes Sombra particularly great when playing in a meta that has not quite formed yet is that no matter what you oppose, you can't shut it down with her. Sure, it does require a bit of trust from your teammates, and it also requires you to be smart about how you play her, but EMP is just an incredibly powerful tool in a world where we just don't know what we're going to oppose. Sombra is definitely a hero that I very much enjoy playing, and I would also like to put more time into her this season. Most of my games playing Sombra are probably very similar to yours. 2 CP defense and sometimes offense as well, which is where her abilities really shine. But since I only have experience in playing her under optimal circumstances, I also don't really want to give you a lot on the side of tips. I'm just gonna put that name out there for the possibility that it might or might not entice some players to give her a shot and try to figure out how to make her work. Honestly, there's something very exciting about not knowing what to expect this season. And there's something even more exciting about being able to shut it all down using a single hero. But this is me done for the day, so I talk about my personal top 5 safest bets for the upcoming Season 6 placement matches, as also the entry experience that will inevitably lead into some sort of meta that we all are going to complain about. If you enjoyed the video, then do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.